And welcome back to RFL. I'm Andrew Whitman. Now to last night's Republican presidential debate. And if you missed it, you didn't miss much. It was a mess, and here are some of the lowlights.
This little guy has lied so much about my record.
There we go. The person.
Of
all the people on the stage, he performs the worst against Hillary Clinton.
Wrong. I beat Hillary Clinton. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls. I beat Hillary Clinton in many polls.
If you're our nominee,
excuse me, I think I'm talking.
Hold on,
well, excuse me.
I beat Hillary Clinton in many
Hold on.
You see what happens again when you challenge him on a policy issue? You asked him about the economy, and the first thing he does is launch an attack about some little guy thing, because he doesn't have answers. And he's asking us to make him the president of the United States of America.
I have a policy question for you, sir.
Let's see if he answers it.
I will. Don't worry about it, Marco. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, little Marco. I will.
All right, well, let's hear Big Don.
You're the liar. You're the lying guy up here. You're the one. You're the one.
Release the
You're
tape.
the one. Now, let me just tell you.
Let me just tell you.
Excuse me. I've given my answer, Lion Ted. I've given my answer.
All right, let's leave it at that.
I think the American people understand that yelling and cursing at people doesn't make you a tough guy. Is this the debate you want playing out in the general election?
No, it's really not, Ted. It's really not. Here to walk me back off the ledge, politically speaking, Dominic Carter, political journalist and author, and Scott Vanderhoff, former 5-term Republican Rockland County executive, who I'm sure has been through debates just like that one last night before, if you're going to run for office. So I was checking, I flipped around last night after the debate. I went online. Only Reince Priebus, who kind of has to say nice things about Republican debates, said anything positive. Other people I heard called it a dumpster fire, a hot mess. Rick Perry's former aide called it the GOP committing suicide on national TV. I'm going with it, the worst debate in American presidential history. You agree?
I agree. I think it's a total embarrassment, except for Kasich, who honestly tried to avoid that. And when they did try to engage him, he said, "I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stick to the policies."
But then when I thought he got a pitch, I thought he swung and missed on the pitch every time. Like he was starting to answer, and then he would say, I meet people at town halls all the time with the hands flailing, and I'm just like, you had your moment and you let it go.
Yeah, I mean, I think because he gets so few times to get in there, no one ever mentions him, so he can't possibly respond. To answer your question, though, I think it's a total embarrassment. I think it's been driven. I'm not sure I agree with everything Richard said with respect to how it came to be, although I must say reality TV is certainly part of this equation. But I was embarrassed. And quite frankly, as a Republican, or maybe an ex-Republican at this stage, I wanted to turn the television off, and yet I had to watch, and it's one of those really difficult things to do. And my real concern is, think of the foreign leaders who are watching this, trying to figure out who's going to be president and how does a whole country react to one of these guys up there. It's quite bothering.
I can't believe it. Think of the children, like the kids who were watching the Republican debate last night, thinking like, "Oh, I'm learning about civics," and it's Dom.
Well, Mr. Whitman, the county executive said that he wanted to turn the television off or turn away from it. I actually turned it off.
Really?
As a political reporter whose job is to watch this and analyze it, I couldn't take it anymore. Donald Trump making jokes about his manhood, validating his manhood, that in that department, I forgot what his exact terminology was, but something to the effect of, I don't have small hands, and believe me, in the other department.
You can stop right there.
Okay, I can stop right there. So I couldn't believe what I was actually looking at. But here's where the other candidates are making a huge mistake. You're going to Trump's level. You're reducing this to exactly where he wants it. He doesn't want to talk policy, and he doesn't want to talk policy because why would he? He doesn't have to. He's the front runner. Mitt Romney's right to the degree that he's been able, Andrew, to fool the American people.
So what's wrong with these debates? Is it the candidates? Is it the moderators? Is it the network? Are they looking for all this stuff? Is it voters who have given voice to all of this and encouraged this? Because, I mean, not only did you have what Trump referenced last night, but nobody was able to stand up to him. You had everybody shouting over each other. Nobody was being accountable on the issues. The audience was hooting and hollering at every stage. Tell me what's wrong so we can figure out how to fix it.
Here's the problem. Number one, Trump can be a monster as a candidate, but he's ratings gold. And so people like me are going to talk nonsense and go, how dare you? And you're insulting the American people. But you better believe, and myself included, we're going to put him on television each and every time, because when he's on television, the ratings go from nothing to through the roof. So it's not the moderator's fault. Here's some free advice for Rubio and for Ted Cruz. This is the way I would handle this. Now, maybe it's not the right way. When Trump starts with his nonsense, I would stop dead on and say, I'm not going to say another word until Mr. Trump gives policy. And I mean it. I wouldn't say anything.
Rubio tried to do that last night, and we saw a little bit of that exchange. And all Trump did was attack Rubio and start insulting him. I mean, and Megyn Kelly tried to hold him accountable
too. But she can't do it because she's already damaged goods. What I'm saying to you in terms of what Trump threw at her, and that's disgusting, the allegation that he threw at her as a woman.
Yeah.
Think about it. Oh, she's asking me tough questions because basically it's that time of the month.
You don't have to go there.
Okay, sorry.
But I think, to answer your other question, it's Donald Trump. I mean, he drags everybody into the gutter because that's what makes it work. His points on how to be successful, his book, says go after him, fight hard. He doesn't know any other way. He doesn't have, I think, the sensibility to be a straight shooter and actually deal with policy. And his policies last night, for the first time he admitted, I change these policies. He's not a conservative, he's a populist. He does whatever he thinks the people are going to respond to. And to your point, Andrew, Rubio in the first part of that debate did not attack. He did policy stuff, and I thought he was quite articulate. It wasn't until in response, Trump said, well, I called him a lightweight. Remember that? I called him a lightweight. I take it back. And then all of a sudden, it blew up again. And I really think, at this point, I wouldn't vote for any of them.
It was amazing. If you managed to make it through the end of the debate, the last question before the closing arguments was, will you run and will you support the Republican nominee? And then they asked Trump, will you make sure you don't go third party? And he said, no, I'm going to stay. I'm going to make sure that I won't run as a third party. 5 minutes later, in the after show, Bill O'Reilly was interviewing him. And I don't know why you interview the guy right after the debate.
Well,
and he said,
interviewing who?
Bill O'Reilly interviewed Trump.
Well,
and Trump,
why?
I know why.
You know
and
why.
Trump, 5 minutes later, after he said he wasn't going to run as a third party, said, well, I hope I don't have to run as a third party. And O'Reilly didn't hold him accountable. All right. Did anybody make any gains or inroads into Trump last night?
I don't think so, for the same reasons that we've all been wrong about this election. I mean, he has a core group, and that core group really doesn't move off of him. The only question is whether Rubio scored enough points to pick up some, especially for Florida, or Kasich in Ohio, whether they picked up enough support.
This strategy to not let him get to the nomination in Cleveland and try to take it from him in Cleveland, that's
what he's trying to do, obviously. But I don't see there's a really interesting article that talks about the statistics of this and the core group that works with Trump versus the core groups of the other candidates. And some of them are evangelical, for example, or Cruz, and now who's out, our friend Ben. So there are these groups that are pulling away that makes Trump stronger in these state wins, these primaries, that doesn't necessarily equate to people who like him or who will vote for him in a general election. So there's a lot of kind of a haze over the real process, even of these state primaries, in terms of who is actually supporting these four candidates.
But Andrew, I really don't understand the strategy of Rubio and Cruz. I'm serious about this. I have a minute and a half time left to answer the question. I'm not going to say another word. I defer my time to Donald Trump. Both of them would have to do it. I want to hear his policy proposals. I want him to lay it out to the American people.
But you know he wouldn't give it. You know he wouldn't give it. He would just start rambling on the way he always does.
But something has to give, because you're fighting the game in his disgusting playground. And frankly, Donald Trump needs to be ashamed of himself for what he's doing.
I don't know if he has that card in his deck.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm glad, because I preferred last night, after watching the stuff about the manhood, I preferred to watch a rerun of Law and Order. I was not going to watch it. This is a presidential debate, and he's talking about his manhood on national television.
Well, just one other, what's surprising is he does this, and I'm beginning to think more and more it's all a game.
It is a game.
Just a game.
It is a game.
When he won the most of the states on Super Tuesday, he appeared for the first time, I think, almost statesmanlike. He didn't attack anybody. He wasn't crude. He almost sounded statesmanlike. So maybe that's the real Trump. Maybe this guy that drags everybody in the mud is his way of defending himself.
But that's part of the problem. And I was, look, it's not funny anymore. I mean, Trump was entertaining for the first part of
But
this.
it's effective.
It is effective.
It's effective.
But it's not funny anymore precisely because we have no idea what he would do as president.
You're
we
right.
have no idea
You're
what
right,
policies
Andrew,
he would
but
take.
I want you to think about this. Mitt Romney throws a broadside at Trump's direction that would have taken out and destroyed any other candidate. What does Donald do? One-upsmanship. If I would have said drop to your knees, Mitt would have did it. So he knows, you know, if you say something, I'm going to come back with something outrageous. So that becomes the lead of the story. I continue to dominate the news headline. And guess who the joke is on? The American people.
Well, and that was Mitt Romney's point. I mean, that really was his point. The unfortunate thing about it is Mitt Romney is a loser. And he's a loser who represents the establishment. And so he's not going to convince people who are for Trump for anything. He's not the one who's going to change minds. Now, on those folks who are not decided or offended, he might have some influence. I think John McCain may have more influence, and he came out yesterday as well.
What was the motivation for Romney yesterday? Was it an actual genuine concern for the party and for the country? Was he angling for something for himself? Does he just despise Trump? What do you think Romney did that for?
You know, I don't know. I don't think he wants to run for president again. I don't think
You don't think he's looking to be drafted at the convention?
He says no, but I don't think he could do it. I don't think he would. He may have, and there is a real sense of this, that he's really fed up with the bully, okay? Remember in the old schoolyards there was always that one bully, and after a while he just got fed up. He's fed up with the bully, and people are saying to him, well, there's only one person who represents the Republican Party, at least last time, and that's you. And I think Romney has that sense, whether it's properly stated or not properly understood. I think he has a sense that he was the only one who could come out and actually say what he thought about. But he knew he was going to get hit once Trump pulls up and says, you and I were together. You wanted my endorsement.
He got his head chopped off just like John McCain did when John McCain criticized him. What do you think Romney did it for?
I think that Romney has an axe to grind against Trump and Chris Christie. What Chris Christie did to Mitt Romney, it's disgusting. Because I am telling you,
embracing Obama? Is
no.
that
I'm going back to the convention. Because I am telling you, one of the reasons why I'm not in public office, wife or not, or friend or not, anybody that treated me based on what Christie did in that speech, we would have had it out right there on national television. Because I would have walked up to him after the speech and said, how dare you? First of all, he shouldn't have let Christie get up there without approving his remarks. So there's a long stemming feud that's playing out between the billionaires or the millionaires, whatever you want to call them, and add Chris Christie to the mix.
You going to watch the next Republican debate?
I hope to be asleep before it starts, to be quite frank. I think I've seen enough. I mean, I don't know. I think I've seen enough to make a decision for New York State as far as New York State's concerned. Of course, today there's a convention, Republican convention, where they're talking about Trump, and a number of chairmen have come out.
State convention up in Buffalo.
Buffalo, that's right. So there may be a lot of talk tomorrow about who said what about whom, but I'm pretty much done. You know, Gilligan's Island is on at the same time if you get onto the right channel.
And it's about as effective in terms of the national discourse.
I'm reduced to watching Lock Up, so I mean, but why would anybody? No offense, the American people should be part of the political process. Only half the country votes, so we've got to change this. But why would anybody? The shock value, the humor, it's all gone. Why would anybody watch that crap?
Here's the worst part. Last night, most watched debate of the campaign season so far.
You have got to.
Is that right?
I'm not. Or at least in 2016, excuse me. I think the first debate of the season.
Right.
But boy,
and so if you're Roger Ailes and Fox, you're like ka-ching.
What do you think Putin thinks about this?
I think he's salivating.
I just can't imagine.
All right. Up next, no more debate talk. Up next, a jury convicted former Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver last year, but the case isn't closed. Why some secrets could still come out, and that's worrying a few power players in the state of New York.